On 5 News tonight, Team GB becomes the envy of the world. The woman convicted of killing her love rival. And Labour's wannabe leader suggests negotiating with so-called Islamic State. After Laura Trott and Jason Kenny both win gold, other countries question Britain's cycling success, while the golden couple themselves tell of their joy.
It was never about kind of how many total golds can I win. So yeah, it feels really special. And I guess something, yeah, like I say, that I never believed I would achieve.
2 women are found guilty of murdering a woman. One of them saw as her love rival. And Labour leadership hopeful Owen Smith has to backtrack after suggesting we should talk to IS. Also tonight, Twitter finally takes action on Anjem Choudhury. The social media site suspends the radical preacher's account a day after it emerged he was convicted of a terror offence. And as hundreds of thousands of pupils prepare to get their A-level results, I'll be asking why there's been a big rise in those needing counselling. Good evening, welcome to 5 News Tonight. I'm Matt Barbett. They just keep on coming. Team GB's gold rush in Rio has already made it our most successful overseas Olympics, and in the past 24 hours they've won another 11 medals. That's more than any other day in the competition. It brings the total currently to 50, not far off the 65 won at London 2012. Well, two of the biggest stars of the night were cycling couple Laura Trott and Jason Kenny, who are getting married in September. For now, though, they're still trying to get used to having 10 gold medals between them, including the 5 they have won in these games alone. Dominic Reynolds has more.
These are his and these are hers. If these two were a country, they'd be 13th in the medal table by themselves. But Laura Trott and Jason Kenny are the British couple that no one could catch.
I guess for me it was never about kind of achieving that. It was always about just going in and like kind of winning the events, and I guess that kind of came with it. But it was never about kind of how many total golds can I win. So yeah, it feels really special. And I guess something, yeah, like I say, that I never believed I would achieve.
I always said to myself, if I had to retire there and then, I would be happy, with my 3 gold medals. So it seems bizarre to have another 3.
It's hard not to smile when you see this. You got the feeling these two had forgotten that the world was watching last night. After this, you'd understand if next month's wedding day ends up being the second happiest of their lives. But that's only part of our cyclist story. With Becky James sprint silver and Katie Marchant's bronze, every single one of the 10-strong team has now won a medal in Rio. Here's a moment in cycling history. Laura Trott met Bradley Wiggins when she was 12. So maybe there are future medalists here.
Don't try and freewheel, because you haven't got the freewheel.
It's a first-timers session for 12-year-olds at British Cycling's home in Manchester.
What was it like compared to how it looks on the telly?
A lot harder.
Is it? Why?
Because it's hard to stay up. You have to get really fast to keep up. Definitely last night with Laura Trott and all them lot.
Pretty special, huh?
Yeah.
Did you cheer?
Yeah.
Does it make you want to do it yourself, Maddie?
Yeah, I really want to do it now, I've seen it. But I don't know if I'd go all the way to the top on the ramp.
Bit scary.
Yeah.
It's high up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Keep pedalling.
Coach Graham has seen a lot of young cyclists come through here. 15 years ago, he saw one called Jason Kenny.
On the first time he rode it, we could see talent. He came off the track sort of crying. And I thought, what the hell's up with him? Anyway, it turned out that all the older riders have been moaning at him, saying he was dangerous.
Because he was too fast?
Basically, he was too skilled.
So just how is our cycling team now so good every Olympics? Other athletes have asked questions. Laura says there's a simple answer.
I think British cycling is very much an Olympic-based programme, and this is what we target. We target gold medals at games. It's not about the World Championships so much in the middle.
That programme could hardly be more successful. We haven't sat this high in the medal table for a very long time. Britain owes a lot to its pedalling power couple. Dominic Reynolds, 5 News.
Well, the cyclists weren't the only ones bagging medals last night. Just days after winning gold in the synchronised diving, 21-year-old Jack Law added a silver in the men's individual 3-metre springboard final. Britain's first boxing medal was won by Joshua Buatsi, who was defeated in the semi-final of the light heavyweight, but still secured a bronze. And there was more success in the gymnastics, with 20-year-old Niall Wilson winning Britain's first Olympic medal in the horizontal bar. He got a bronze there. So this is what it means for the medal table. Team GB are stacking up the wins and are still in second place behind the United States, but still ahead of China. One of the stories of the Olympics last night came courtesy of Team GB's youngest athlete. Just a month ago, 16-year-old Amy Tinkler was taking her GCSEs. Now, she's a bronze medal winning gymnast. It all started at her local club in South Durham, where her mum used to coach. Danny Sinha has more.
This is how the youngest member of Team GB wowed the judges in the final. And at 16, she rose to the occasion magnificently. There were tears, but ones of joy when she realised she'd bagged a bronze medal. Talented Amy has been doing gymnastics since she was 2, and her coach back home always knew there was something special about her.
To get her into the Olympic team was our first goal, and after that we just said we're just going to enjoy it. We just wanted to go out there and have an amazing time. So to make the final was unreal. To actually come out with a medal, just unbelievable.
Back at the South Durham gym where Amy trained, other youngsters are now fired up to follow in her footsteps. But it's been no mean feat for Amy. She's had to train 30 hours a week every day while studying for her GCSEs. Grit and determination have got her there, and she's now an inspiration to young gymnasts at home.
Me and Amy are really close, so I was very emotional when she did get that medal, and just to get there is just amazing for her.
Oh, I'm super proud to know that one of our teammates has went out there and won a bronze medal at the Olympics is just unbelievable. I'm so proud of her.
Yeah, I always believed in her. I mean, she works so hard and she's so passionate and dedicated, and I knew she could do it.
There are not many 16-year-olds who can say they've bagged a bronze at the Olympics, and next week she'll find out if she's made the grade when it comes to her GCSE results. No doubt about it, though, this is a girl who's going places. Danny Sinha, 5 News.
With me now to talk about all of this is Olympic gold medalist at the 1984 Games in LA, Tessa Sanderson, and alongside her is Dr. Steve Ingham, who's Director of Science and Technology at the English Institute of Sport, who have worked with dozens of Olympic medalists over the last 5 Games. But Tessa, let's talk about Amy Tinkler first. Just 16, doing her GCSEs a month ago, as if that wasn't stressful enough, and now an Olympic medalist.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when I heard and saw what she'd done on there, I just loved her to death. And I thought, what a perfect example for, young girls her age to going out there showing such confidence, doing what she does and coming back with an Olympic medal. She's just fantastic. And technically, she looks superb.
There's something particularly about gymnastics, Steve, where all the competitors have to start early, it seems.
Yeah, there's several different sports will require different journeys to the podium. So Helen Glover was discovered through a talent recruitment scheme just 3-4 years before the London Games. For someone like Amy, they've spotted that talent, but the programme of gymnastics has got an infrastructure now through lottery funding, through government investment. They've got great coaches to be able to nurture that talent and to make sure that we cherish it.
Cherishing their talent, but at the same time, Tessa, are they cherishing their childhood? Because you started training for the javelin, when you were 13, properly when you were 16. Did you lose anything from your, your childhood years there?
No, not really, because, I made the decision then, very early, that I wanted to be a sportsman, become a sportsman. I didn't neglect my education because it was my teacher who discovered me. So she sort of nurtured things along the way with my family, and I think it's important for that, to happen. But, I mean, going out to nightclubs and things like that with my friends, 16, 17, that didn't really matter, because what I wanted most was, to make sure that I could do well in my sport and one day represent Team Great Britain, call it then, and go to an Olympic Games.
Let's talk about relationships at the Olympic Games, because, Steve, first, they're the golden couple of cycling, aren't they? Trot and Kenny, soon to be Mr. and Mrs. next month. But does it help or hinder having your partner at a Games? And we'll talk to Tessa about it in a second, because she knows something about that.
Ooh. Well, the support that athletes have in their journey to the podium is essential. The friends and the family, the first people that athletes thank after their performances. So it's essential to have that support network around you because we put pressure on them. It's the pressure of competition, it's intense, to have a loved one nearby. It certainly wouldn't hurt.
We were hearing last night that it was a good thing that Jason Kenny's final came after Laura Trott's, because it was the other way around. She gets too wound up and too emotional about it that it might have affected her chances.
Oh, there's the kiss.
Yeah, there's the kiss. Is it a romantic place to be? Because you met your future husband, at the Los Angeles Games?
Yes, actually. I knew him a little bit before that, but, you know, we got really sort of talking at the LA Games. I'd won my medal and I was coming out, he was coming out of the canteen and I was
he did judo?
Yes, judo, Dentine White, and he'd been doing judo for a long time. So I was coming out the eating area, and he was, going in, and he said, "Did you win?" And I said, "Yes." And he went, "Yeah, right." And he just went off.
That worked for you.
But I did fancy him then, but he didn't fancy me.
More money in the game though now, Steve, compared to Atlanta, in fact, a lot more recently. Has that made a difference? Because we hear people comparing what Team GB is doing to what people were doing in East Germany, minus, of course, all the sort of underhand tactics, but basically the state throwing money at Olympic medals.
Well, to create these wonderful medal moments, you've got to have athletes with talents. Some of them, you've got to have extreme physical capability or mental pursuit. You've got to have the coaches around, dedicated to support them. And what we've introduced is science, medicine, technology, so that you, rather than guessing, you can know with a greater certainty. And that takes investment, and the lottery and government investment since the late 90s, in order to allow athletes to train full-time, coaches to be paid, and scientists to be applied.
Yeah, because we heard Laura Trott last night thanking a whole list of people, but not least her nutritionist, which we kind of forget about some of these extra people behind the scenes, but clearly a nutritionist is very important to someone like her.
Well, absolutely. British Cycling have led the way in this idea of applying science to performance. A whole plethora of support services that we provide through the English Institute of Sport, nutritionists, biomechanists, performance analysts. We're helping Jason Kenny's coach Ian Dyer yesterday to ensure don't disqualify Jason Kenny. We've got good footage.
That was rather stressful, wasn't it? And Tessa, this whole idea of marginal gains that has been formulated in British cycling on the track and on the road is now being applied to other disciplines, and we've seen the benefit to gymnastics, for example, not just Amy, Max Whitlock, Lewis Smith medalling once again. Is this going to be the beginning of a golden era for British gymnastics?
Yes, I think so. I think people sort of know how they perform, how they feel inside, how they can use certain things psychologically that we're talking about as well. And a lot of mind games goes on as well. And I think if you can overcome that with your own self, then I think this marginal games, it's good. I think it's going to play a big part. Yes, in right through the whole sport.
Why wouldn't you take your own pillow to sleep on at the Olympic Village? It just makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, because decathletes and people, we've been doing this for years. So taking yourself aside, getting into your own zone and focus, because there's a lot of distraction that goes on, whilst you're in competition. And if you can block that out with something that makes it work for you, then that's all that needs to happen.
I'm being distracted right now, told to move on. So thank you both very much indeed for coming in. Two other news now, and a woman who murdered a love rival in a brutal stabbing that she plotted with a friend has been jailed for a minimum of 30 years. Sarah Williams wanted to win back her ex-lover, so she killed Sadie Hartley, and what the jury heard was an orgy of violence. Her accomplice, Katrina Walsh, who helped plan the murder, was also jailed for life, as Peter Lane reports.
Sadie Hartley with her partner Ian Johnston at a ski club Christmas dinner last year. Behind her, on another table, Sarah Williams, who'd had a previous relationship with Johnston and was obsessed by him. Just 4 weeks after this photo was taken, Williams murdered Sadie Hartley in a savage act of jealousy. Sarah Williams hid a tracker device on her ex-lover's car to find out where he and Sadie lived and carried out what was described in court as a meticulously planned assassination. The evidence trail included CCTV footage of Williams arriving at the couple's home when she knew Sadie was alone. 4 minutes later, she left. Williams attacked Sadie Hartley with a stun gun normally used on animals and then stabbed her 40 times. Ian Johnston says he's lost his best friend.
We were first and foremost friends. And I miss her like you won't believe. To realise that somebody you think the world of is taken in such a horrific, pointless, senseless way. And then to go to court and hear what's gone on to that endeavour, to that end, it's beyond belief.
In court, the jury saw traces of Sadie's blood on Sarah Williams' bath and footage of Williams buying size 10 boots she wore during the murder in the hope that police would think the killer was male. Williams' friend Katrina Walsh helped draw up the plan and kept months of diary entries about it. One read, "This may happen. Wow." The pair travelled to Germany to buy the stun gun, but Walsh told police she thought the plan was just a game, part of the fugitive TV show Hunted. When Sadie Hartley's body was found in the hallway of her home, police had to trace her daughter, who was on holiday overseas.
I just got engaged about 3 days before I got the phone call, so I was from an incredible high to an incredible low. She was just perfect. There was nothing bad about her that anybody could say. She was just a lovely, trustworthy, kind, loving woman.
1 week before the killing, Sarah Williams and Katrina Walsh delivered flowers to Sadie Hartley's home. She didn't know who they were from, but kept them in a vase. The delivery was described in court as a macabre dry run for the brutal attack Williams would carry out on the same doorstep 7 days later. Peter Lane, 5 News.
Now, the Labour leadership contender Owen Smith suggested that so-called Islamic State should be involved in peace talks with the West about Syria. His comments were made during a TV debate with his rival Jeremy Corbyn, who called them hasty and ill-judged. Let's speak now to our political editor, Andy Bell. Andy, what exactly did Owen Smith say?
Yes, Matt, well, as you say, they were taking part in the TV debate, and during the course of that debate, both men were asked, should the so-called Islamic State be asked to take part in any kind of peace process or political process or talks to try and bring peace to Syria? Now, Jeremy Corbyn said no. This is what Owen Smith had to say.
And my view is that ultimately all solutions to these sorts of crises, these sorts of international crises, do come about through dialogue. So eventually, if we are to try and solve this, all of the actors do need to be involved. But at the moment, ISIL are clearly not interested in negotiating.
All right.
And
so you're a no and you're a yes. That's clear. Thank you. No, it's
I'm yes, at some point. At some point, for us to resolve this, we will need to get people around the table.
Quite a bit of hubbub there, Andy. What's been the reaction to what he said?
Well, Owen Smith's had quite a lot of criticism, as you can imagine, for this. Johnny Mercer, a Conservative MP and an Afghan veteran, said that this showed Owen Smith was unfit for leadership. Jeremy Corbyn's team have said that these remarks were hasty and ill-judged. Owen Smith has tried to clarify a bit what he meant. He has said that, wars often end with some sort of political dialogue, but people sitting around the table can only include those who have definitively renounced violence, and he says that does not and may never include Daesh or the so-called Islamic State. At the end of it all, though, I have to say I think this has done Owen Smith some damage. His whole pitch for the Labour leadership during this contest is that Jeremy Corbyn is fine if you want someone who's always going to run a protest campaign, but if you want someone who's credible, who could one day actually be Prime Minister, then Owen Smith says, I am your man. But today he's lost quite a lot of credibility. I think he's looked naive, frankly, in the way he handled this question, and I think this has damaged his campaign.
Andy, thanks very much. Still to come on 5 News tonight. As A-level results day looms, why are more pupils needing counselling for stress? And the wildfires tearing through Southern California. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back. Now, we told you last night about the radical preacher Anjem Choudary, who's finally been convicted for drumming up support for IS. However, despite his connections to terrorism, many of his messages are still readily available online. 5 News challenged Twitter after they failed to take down his account, and this evening it has been suspended. As Julian Drucker reports.
We may lose a battle. Week after week, he would preach to scores in the streets, attracting new followers to his hateful ideology. But for Anjem Choudary and others like him, there was, of course, a more immediate way of spreading that twisted message.
I want to share with you a couple of concepts
which we all should be aware about.
His speeches online have had millions of views, perhaps radicalising some of those watching in the process. So why is this one, and others like it, still viewable on the internet, even after he's been convicted for inviting support for the so-called Islamic State? His trial heard how the British authorities had tried to get his videos and online posts taken down. They failed, as they have no powers to force the social media giants to do so.
There's a vast amount of messages going out there, but it only takes one person to take that message on board and commit a terrorist attack.
Former Islamist Adam Dean was a recruit to one of Chowdhury's earliest networks. He's now reformed and helping to fight extremism.
We know studies show that those individuals that are engaging with material who are like-minded individuals that are engaging with other people that share the same ideas often become more extreme in their views. So they are dangerous, and they could lead to an individual becoming an active contributor.
Police requested Twitter to take down Chowdhury's profile, arguing it breached their own rules on threatening or promoting terrorism. After 5 News queried this today, the account has now been suspended. YouTube has removed some videos featuring Chowdhury, but it considers this one to be journalistic. A spokesperson told us, "We have a designated Promote Terrorism flag underneath every video on YouTube, and we review content that anyone flags to us. We make exceptions for material with sufficient documentary or news value." As Chowdhury awaits sentencing, the chair of the House of Lords Communications Committee tonight told us social media companies should do more to keep watch over potentially criminal material. Julian Drucker, 5 News.
Now, tomorrow, hundreds of thousands of A-level pupils across England and Wales will be picking up their results. Anyone who's been through it, I know, knows how it feels, but it seems it's becoming more and more stressful. The charity Childline says compared with last year, there's been a 20% rise in A-level and GCSE pupils getting counselling about their results. In total, it gave counselling sessions to over 1,000 young people. And according to them, girls are 5 times more likely to contact their helpline than boys are. With me now is one of those pupils who's going to be getting their results, June Eric Adori, who's also a writer. Alongside her is Zoe Bailey, who's from The Mix, which is also a helpline for young people. Good to see you both. June, how are your stress levels?
They're not too bad right now, but they were quite bad this morning when I woke up and suddenly realised, like, oh my God, it's tomorrow.
Has it been worse than you expected?
I think comparing to when I got my GCSEs and A-levels, definitely been a lot more stress because, you know, now there's about getting into university, things like that. So, yeah, I think also over the last couple of years, watching just with friends in, like, school, the pressures just seem to have gone up.
And what do you make of that statistic that more girls are calling helplines to get advice? Does that mean girls are more stressed, or do you think it means they're more prone to seeking advice for the problem rather than boys?
Well, I think I went to an only girls' school, and I know that the pressure, you know, over the last few years, the like pressure to be like perfect in every way. So, you know, perfect friendship groups, perfect grades. It really does mean, like, with things like exams, we do tend to put a lot more pressure on ourselves. And from going to an only girls' school, that definitely was the case.
So do you think that's the main thing here? Is it peer pressure, or is it coming from teachers, parents, somewhere else?
I think it's a mixture of all of those things, and also an increase in young people putting pressure on themselves. Those expectations increasing from their peers, parents, teachers, absolutely, but also from themselves and what they want to achieve with their lives.
And you're also getting more calls.
We are getting more calls, and on our website we've seen an increase in traffic around exams and stress-related problems, yeah.
So what are the coping mechanisms?
So coping, we say tonight, obviously, start coping tonight. Have a bath, make a list about all the people that you would like to contact tomorrow. And that might be friends and family, but it might also be clearinghouses and advice centres. At The Mix, we're running some chat later tonight, live chat, which runs 8 till 9:30 on The Mix. And lots and lots of young people will come on there and talk to each other and support each other. And that's really valuable as well.
Yeah, do you find that talking about it's helped, or making lists? I know you were saying a lot of your friends are sort of looking at all the possible scenarios tomorrow, which has to include the worst case ones, unfortunately. And then when you do that, you then focus on the worst case scenario, don't you?
I think personally, like the night before anything huge, I think it's best to just sort of forget about it. My dad's always been the sort of person like you just need to chill because you can't change anything right now. And then obviously, you know, have in mind like things to do, but I don't think there's any point, you know, sitting down and saying, you know, if I get 3 C's, it's what's going to happen if I get 2 A stars and an A, because there's no point. You don't know. And, you know, you never know, you might do better than you expect.
Exactly. I like your dad's advice, though. Just chill. Hey, look, I failed one of my A-levels, and I've managed to feed and clothe myself ever since. So, you know, it's not going to be a complete disaster if that happens to some people, but it won't happen to you, June, I promise. Thank you both very much indeed for coming in. Best of luck. Now, more than 80,000 people have been ordered to evacuate their homes as wildfires continue to sweep through parts of California. The cause of the blaze is still unclear, although a man will appear in court today accused of starting one of the fires. Jessica Omri reports.
It looks more like a volcano than a wildfire, but this is Southern California up in flames. Fanned by the wind across land made tinder dry by heat and extreme drought. The fire has spread at a staggering speed, engulfing 50 square miles, destroying everything in its path. 100-foot flames licked the sky, homes and businesses devastated. The blaze so fierce, firefighters can do little but watch on helplessly.
The police have been running up and down the street and telling us that we need to get out, and I guess it's really moving fast. Hopefully we get to come back. This is the 3rd time, so hopefully it'll still be standing. Smoke, man.
This roadside restaurant had been an iconic stop on the famous Route 66. History and memorabilia, now rubble. In Northern California, another blaze. Here it's almost under control, but the scores of homes it's ripped through are unrecognisable. Wildfires are common in California, but that doesn't make the destruction any easier to bear. Over 80,000 people have now fled their homes. They hope something of their lives and livelihoods can be salvaged from the ashes when they return. Jessica Omri, 5 News.
That is just about it from us for now. Sean Welby is here with the weather next, and Danny has updates throughout the evening here on Channel 5. I'll be back tomorrow at 6:30. We'll have those exam results. Fingers crossed for the likes of June and her friends. And we'll also have the latest from the Olympics. The Brownlee brothers going in the triathlon. They're a good bet for medals there. But for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow at 6:30. Bye-bye.